Hello and welcome to Geeks Assembled, and we're joined today on what's quite a solemn day for Bond fans to talk about the first movie in the Pierce Brosnan era, GoldenEye. So we'll go first to opening thoughts straight away, and we'll go first with Lee. What's your
Right. Opening thoughts, GoldenEye. It's a pretty solid movie. It's enjoyable to watch for his first outing. It was really well put together. I mean, we had been waiting must be 5 years from License to Kill to GoldenEye, so they had plenty of time to get something down on paper and ready for the new Bond, whoever it was going to be. But it was Pierce. I mean, it's something he does get some stick, does Pierce, but I don't mind him as Bond. Um, there again, I don't mind most of the actors who have played Bond, but yeah, it's a bit of a different one. This because of the GoldenEye being the what do you call it, the satellite system thing. As villain of the piece, really, you've got 006 played by Sean Bean, who apparently sort of died twice in this movie. Now, that's a good thing for Sean Bean. He usually only dies once in a movie. But yeah, and so the Bond girls are awesome. Oh, what's her name? Is it on the top? On the top. Yeah, don't mess with her, especially when you're having sex, because you'll break your back. Um, yeah, and of course, this is the first outing as well for Dame Judy Dench as M. She's only sort of in it briefly, but she's got such screen presence. Debriefing Bond in the movie, and of course we've got Desmond Llewellyn as Q as always, but in the giving him all the gadgets. Yeah, I enjoyed this. I mean, I hadn't seen this for a while. It was good to sit down and watch this one. I'll go for favourite moments later on, but it was an enjoyable movie. Solid.
Thank you, Lee. Tim, what's your opening thoughts?
Yeah, I'd agree with all that. I remember at the time, it seemed like a bit of a, I don't know, they didn't really call it that then, but a sort of soft relaunch of the franchise in a way, because it was a brand new Bond, and it had been some time because of some kind of contractual obligations, and it 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 ticks all the boxes, doesn't it? I mean, it's usually a series of set pieces, and it's done really well. I like the villainous chick Xenia on the top. That was a good departure for. I mean, every now and then they'll have a Bond villainess, like she's usually not the main villain, she's usually the henchman. But I mean, uh, she was really inventive and cool, and I thought that was a cool way to do it. I think Brosnan is great in his first film. I didn't really have a problem with him either. I think he's a pretty good Bond. I thought since he had been vying for the part since the mid '80s, it's interesting that he finally got his hands on it about a decade later. It's a well made film. It's well written. You'll notice that I think this is the first time that John Barry doesn't do the score, isn't it? They've got a sort of electronic score that is kind of aged badly. I think it's not really horrible, but it's just kind of something. It's very '90s. Let's put it that way. Um, but yeah, it's a great film. I think it's an unusual one. The cast is great. I forgot Alan Cummings was in it. He's hilarious as the know-it-all nerd, computer nerd who gets his comeuppance towards the end. I don't really have much else to say. It's a good outing for James Bond, and I think it's an excellent first one for Brosnan. I really don't have any fault with it, really. There's a couple of niggles, but we'll get to that later, I guess.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, to be honest, I'm not a massive fan of Brosnan, but this film is very good. The opening sequence, I think, is probably one of my favourites. I do like the idea of Brosnan and Bean going into a military facility and kind of shooting the place up. That was very fun. That was one of the pre-title sequences I kind of vividly remember the most. I think as well, just because it's so action packed, it's kind of really set a new tone for. It was a bit action man Bond, I think, more so than the other ones. Yeah, as mentioned, the cast is very good. Robbie Coltrane is in it as well as Valentin Zukovsky. He's fantastic. I do like his character. And yeah, it's one of the few times I think that the henchman kind of overshadows the main villain. Not to say that Sean Bean is in any way kind of glossed over in this movie, because he's not. He's a well-known. He's since become one of the favourites of Bond fans in the villain category. But Xenia Onatopp just completely kind of blows it out the water with in terms of just crushing people with her thighs and stuff like that. It's just she's kind of mocked, but it's a very kind of loving way of mocking her, because it's just so she's iconic, just the way that she goes about things. You've not had a Bond girl since then or before that that's done that sort of thing. And she's probably the most dangerous, or one of the most dangerous henchmen that he's come across, because she's got the feminine wiles, but she's a bit. She reminds me a bit of a serpent. She's like, there's something really slithery about her. But yeah, as Tim mentioned, Alan Cummings in this. I am invincible. That one of the best lines in Bond, and that is just I think this is the movie that kind of made Alan Cummings a bit of a name. I think, was it? I'm not really sure on Alan Cummings' career, to be honest, but people forget he was in this. I've noticed as well, and it's strange because he's such a standout.
I did when I was watching it recently for this cast. I was like, "Oh yeah, he's in this." It's the same thing with Minnie Driver. He was in her little one scene.
Yeah,
I don't think she had done much yet.
Yeah, it's strange to like that people forget that Alan Cummings is in it, and he's actually one of the biggest kind of comedic parts of it. But he's also very sort of, for such a small character, he's quite iconic.
And we discussed it in our previous review about Joe Don Baker being in it too. He's playing a different part entirely.
Yeah, he's Jack Wade, the CIA guy. Yeah, Joe Don Baker's in it, and Samantha Bond is in it as Miss Moneypenny. I'm not really a big fan of her, Miss Moneypenny. I don't think she's anywhere near as good as Lois Maxwell, and the one that was in I can't remember the actress's name of, that was in the Dalton films. I think that, and as Lee mentioned, it's first appearance of Judi Dench, who probably went on to be the most iconic M. So it's a lot of kind of firsts for a lot of these kind of. There's a lot to take from this film that's kind of transcended. For like, it is recognised among Bond as being quite. Hate to overuse this word, but iconic. And yeah, it's just overall a really good action film, to be honest. So it's just a shame that Brosnan's other films didn't kind of live up to this. I almost have the impression that this was wrote in some respect for Timothy Dalton, but
it might well have been, because it was they did have some kind of contract trouble, though. They couldn't make a film for a number of years for some reason, and I'm not sure exactly, but I remember this was one of the longest gaps between films, and by the time they actually got the go ahead, Dalton had already said, no, that's okay, I'm doing something else, and then they hired Brosnan finally. So
yeah.
But the script may have indeed been written to go ahead, maybe into when this come out 95. So they might have been intending to go ahead in like 1990 or 91 or 92 or something, and just had to wait for several years for some reason.
Yeah, I can believe that. And to be honest, like GoldenEye is one of them very rare films that has kind of gone on to spawn kind of other iterations. Like there was 2 successful video games based on that.
That's what I was going to mention at this time. I think this was the first film that had a video game tie-in that was very successful.
Yeah, it's the well, considered the best James Bond game out there. So yeah, I think overall it's just a very good kind of recognized film, and it is one that's very rewatchable. It's got a lot of rewatchable aspects of it because it's just so action packed. It's got a lot of great characters in it. So that's my opening thoughts. We'll go on to favourite moments now, and we'll go in reverse. We'll go with Tim first. Tim, what's your favourite moments?
I would say it's aged very well too. You don't. I was watching it just last week, and it didn't look like a 25-year-old movie. You know what I mean? It's just that it looked very fresh, considering. Uh, I did have one minor niggle though, which was the business with the character of the villain, Sean Bean character, because it seems like it goes a little bit quickly. They're like supposed to be like really close pals or something. He's 6 and he's 7, and that doesn't really come across. I mean, and James Bond doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would trust anybody to have a best friend. Maybe Felix Leiter back in the day, but I mean, it just seems like kind of quick, and you almost suspect that that's the case. I mean, because Sean Bean wouldn't do just a one-off scene in a movie just to get killed off in the first 5 minutes. You know he's going to return in some form or another, and he does. And I don't think the payoff on that works out too well. But other than that, I think it's a very solid film. I can't really think of a whole lot of favorite moments because it does move pretty quickly, and there's a lot of good scenes. So it's just the usual girls, guns, and cars. It's just a lot of fun.
Thank you, Tim. Let's go over to Lee next. Lee, what's your favourite moments?
Oh, where to start? Let's start with the theme song first. GoldenEye, performed by Tina Turner. Brilliant voice. Written by Bono and The Edge from U2. It was round about that. It was about the same year they did. I think there was going into movie soundtracks because I think they did the Batman Forever song as well in the same year. So great song. I mean, most Bond themes are brilliant because you've always got the essence of John Barry in there, even if he hasn't done anything with it. Apart from maybe a couple later on down the line, which was a bit naff. I won't mention Madonna or Sam Smith, but but yeah, great theme song. But there's so many brilliant moments in it. The tank chase is so over the top and silly. It's brilliant. The chasing that car through the streets is just brilliantly done with that tank. The fight at the end, of course, on the what do you call it, the radar thing, the big telescope, was brilliantly done between Bean and Brosnan. And of course, you've got the iconic opening scenes with the dam, where he jumps off the dam. Now that is one hell of a stunt, and I think that's gone down in movie history as one of the best stunts ever done.
Yeah, because this is pre CGI. We didn't have CGI yet.
Yeah, exactly. So that is, say, one hell of a stunt to do. The car chase as well. I didn't get the car chase at the beginning with on a top on the roads. I just didn't understand that. What was all that about?
I think some films, Spectre, for example, are guilty of throwing in a car chase for no other good reason than to have a car chase.
Wasn't she trying to attract him or something?
Yeah, there was a little bit of that at the beginning.
Yeah,
it reminded me of the opening scene in You Only Live Twice. No, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, with him chasing Diana Rigg around.
Yeah,
a little bit.
I suppose you say it's most of the obligatory car chase, what they have to have every movie. But yeah, there's some of my favourite moments, but it's just action packed all the way. I mean, I did have a niggle with the helicopter thing. That was so handy to have that button head height, the ejector button, wasn't it? I mean, if you're going to get rid of Bond, why tie him to a chair with an ejector button right near his head? I mean, come on. Sean Bean's supposed to be 006. He's supposed to be as good as Bond. Use your brains, Sean. But yeah, it's a damn good movie, and I agree with what Tim said about the other parts of the soundtrack. Was it Eric Serra did it? Somebody like that. It doesn't date well That, I mean, the
It's not
themes.
bad.
Yeah,
It's not bad, but you're right. It seems very 90s now. He
yeah,
also did the song at the end. I'd forgotten there was a song at the end. I think everybody
yeah,
forgot there was a song because it's not that good, but it's just
yeah. The Experience of Love, apparently it was called.
something like that.
Yeah, yeah, it's a bit of a naff song that as well. But yeah, all in all, enjoyable, action-packed Bond.
Thank you, Lee. Yeah, my favourite moments, as has been mentioned, the dam jump was iconic. I loved, as I mentioned, the kind of military shootout and the plane escape. That's always a fun scene to watch. But my absolute favourite moment is Xenia Onatop's death, where she's squeezed against the tree. She always did enjoy a good squeeze. That's just such a good line. There's so many funny kind of lines in this. I also like the scene where kind of, it's not really a sex scene, but it's a little bit of a sex scene where he says no more foreplay. That's also it's the scenes with Xenia. I've noticed that are just so likable about this film, and I think it's because she's probably the best part of it. If Pierce and Sean aside, the Bond girl.
It keeps up that camp tradition, the the camp lines and it's perfect.
Yeah. It's a shame to be honest, because Natalia, she's a good-looking Bond girl, but she's not memorable. You don't really. She doesn't do anything. I don't feel that's kind of particularly Bond girlish. She's almost very ordinary, and I think that kind of comes across a bit as a weakness for her, compared to other Bond girls like Diana Rigg and Honor Blackman and stuff like that, and Jane Seymour as well, who doesn't particularly do anything very Bondish either, but she's memorable because she's unique. So yeah, I think Natalia was a strange choice of character, kind of used in a film like this, and she just gets completely overshadowed by Onatop, to be honest, which is such, like, whoever came up with the name Xenia Onatop should have got a pay rise for that, because that is just absolutely genius, because it just completely describes the character in
I mean, it outdoes Pussy Galore.
What did you think? I mean, I know you've said the punchline at the end of this scene, but the scene in the sauna was, for me, so exhausting to watch.
Yeah,
that was so well. The fight with him and her in that sauna was just exhausting.
it was. Yeah, she's got.
You felt the pain.
Yeah, you did. Like, there's something really brutal about her. She's such a multi kind of faceted character. I mean, I don't know why I'm saying this, but she's a bit of a dominatrix.
Yeah, I think that's the point. And
Yeah.
she looks like she enjoys it. Even when she dies, she's like she's enjoying it. Like, but the Famke Jensen, she's very good in this. This is one of her first roles, I believe. She's amazing.
I forgot she went to do X-Men and stuff like that. I didn't even realize that she was Jean Grey till very, very recently. So it's, she got a good career out of this, and rightly so, because she's fantastic in this. I think she definitely does steal the show. And I think Robbie Coltrane gets overlooked quite a lot in this, but he's actually quite good for the very few scenes he's in. So yeah, I think definitely, as Lee mentioned, the sauna scene and Xenia's death got to be two of my favorite scenes, and obviously the beginning. I did like the end fight. It's not one of the best like end boss fights that you can come up with in a Bond film, but when he grabs his foot as he's falling, and I can't remember the line. Is it Bond that says for England?
No, it's Sean Bean says for England, James.
Yeah,
No, for me.
yeah, for me, yeah, that is superb. There's just these little lines in it that really kind of punctuate the moment, and that's one of them. And that's quite a brutal death, to be fair, to fall from that height and then have a burning helicopter crash down on you. Not very pleasant, but yeah, it is. It's a movie with a lot of good action moments in it for sure. As I said, it just feels very action man Bond, if anything. So very 90s as well, very 90s action film. So yeah, I think that's my favorite moments. I'll open the floor up and we can have some general comments if there are any, and then we'll go on to scoring it.
Well, it's always good to have a section with Q, because there's a bit of humour there and all like that. Don't
And
touch.
Is this not his last one?
No, the Tomorrow Never Dies was his last one, I think. But don't touch that. That's my lunch. Yeah. Well, I just those little gadgets what they used to come with, just so brilliant. With the old pen, and that was tension as well. That scene in that where he was, what was his name? Boris, was it? Boris?
Yeah, Boris.
Clicking Bond's pen. I thought, oh, go on, it's going to happen.
Yeah, actually, I did forget about that scene. That's some great suspense work there. Yeah. For sure. Yeah, any more general comment?
Well, to your point about the Bond girl being a bit not outstanding, I guess. I think you're right in a way, because there was one scene I recall when they were running and being chased by all those guys that were shooting at him, and she could have easily, as they were, running and being shot at, picked up one of those guns that had been dropped by one of the guys. That it would have made sense, but she didn't. She kind of stays behind James the whole time, and it's just like, okay. You would think that. I mean, that was a missed opportunity, I guess. I think she could have been written better, is what it is, because the actress is fine.
Yeah, I would say the actress is fine. Yeah, and she's, as I said, she's very good looking. But yeah, I do. And that is one scene that kind of emphasizes that. I think she's almost someone that kind of gets caught up in it all. And I know all the Bond girls kind of get caught up in it in some way, but she's not equipped like some of the other Bond girls to be caught up in a situation like that. All the other Bond girls tend to be in like positions of kind of power within like the villain hierarchy, or within like a secret service or something like a Barbara.
Well, she's supposed to be a computer expert too, which was new at the time, I guess. But I mean, it doesn't really come across as that, because you've got Boris, meanwhile, who's insanely, way ahead of her, I guess. But
yeah, so yeah, she doesn't really have any skills that can help Bond in any way, and I think that comes across, as I said, as a bit of a weakness in a character, and I think she could have been written a lot better for sure. So yeah, is that? Shall we move on to final saying scores? All right. Let's go over to Lee first. Lee, what's your final saying score?
As I said before, it's a solid movie. It's action all the way. It doesn't drag. It's bang 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 all the way through. And it's a good return to Bond after a 5 year of missing in action. So for me, it's enjoyable. I can't really knock it, so it's going to get 10 out of 10.
Wow.
Tim?
I would agree with Lee to a certain extent. I think this was a big deal when it came out. I remember there was a lot of excitement, and it was like I said, it felt like a kind of a relaunch with the video game and everything. So and I think that what they came up with was really, really good. It really is. It seemed like this is the Bond for the 90s, because that's the way they market things, and that was pretty much the middle of the decade. So I will give it a 9, though. I think 10. It has a couple of things, like you said, that it's not perfect, but it is an excellent start for a new generation of Bond.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, I think it is, like I said, it's very 90s, very kind of action man Bond, very enjoyable, very kind of thrilling. It does go by with some pace. Great theme song as well from Tina Turner, as mentioned. Yeah, I think overall I'd have to give it maybe a 7. It's not one of my absolute favorites, but it's not one of the worst either, especially not by Brosnan standards. It's gold tier compared to the other Brosnans. So yeah, that's my score. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Anyway, so yeah, thanks for watching. Join us next time, where I believe for the Daniel Craig era, we'll be covering what, in my opinion, in very short terms, is considered the greatest Bond film of all time, Casino Royale. Yeah, so join us for that next month in November, December. November.
Don't you mean the one with David Niven and Woody Allen?
Yeah, well, I mean,
wouldn't that have been fun if it would have been? Oh, I never thought of that.
We should review that. We should review that at some point, because I've never seen it. I'd give that a watch if we were reviewing it for sure. I'm not really a fan of the non-canon stuff. I've only seen Never Say Never Again once, and I regret that. But yeah, so thanks for watching. Hit the like, subscribe button. Pop up to Lee if you want to join in on a future cast. Sure, we'll try and get you on at some point. We are looking for new members all the time. Definitely, most definitely at the moment. Yeah, so, and as one final word, as I mentioned at the beginning of the cast, it's quite a sad day for Bond fans. Unfortunately, age 90, we lost the original Bond, probably the most iconic, Sean Connery. And age 90, you don't expect it. You don't see it as much of a shock. But much like Doctor Who fans would probably be pained by the loss of Tom Baker, this one definitely really hurts. So it's a really sad day to lose such an iconic, legendary actor in his own right, as well as James Bond. And I'm sure he'll be up there with Lois, Desmond, Roger, and all of them, with vodka martinis, shaken not stirred. And he will be greatly missed, because he retired many years ago, but you know, the mark of Sean Connery never really left. He's an understated legend, I think, and such a great, outspoken guy. I think a lot of people give Daniel Craig credit for kind of being outspoken, especially after the "I'll slit my wrists." Then I'd rather slit my wrists than do another Bond film. But you know, Sean Connery was equally as kind of he really put the producers in their places at many points during his time as Bond. And he was a great advocate for James Bond as well. Him and Roger Moore, from what I remember, I believe, were very close and good friends. So he's always been a supporter of the Bond franchise, even to come back twice when he didn't really need to, for Diamonds Are Forever and Never Say Never Again. So yeah, I think this is probably, you know, it's been such a shit year for Bond in general in terms of the number of deaths of kind of iconic faces in the franchise, but this one just tops it all off as being probably the worst. Like, I think this, you know, losing Roger Moore was a great tragedy, because no one expected Roger Moore to kind of be the first to go, but losing Sean Connery being the original, and in many people's hearts the best, is even more kind of tragic, even at the age of 90. Does anyone else want to share any kind of sentiments about Sean?
I would say, to his credit, I mean, he was probably typecast for a while, but he did manage to shake it off eventually and be involved in several other iconic films over the years. So good on him.
Yeah. I mean, Bond. He overshadowed the Bond franchise forever. He's still overshadowing it now. Bond overshadowed him, but as it said on TV today, he made Bond. Bond didn't make him. He made Bond. He took the role and made it his own. And I know Ian Fleming was a bit dubious at the time because he was still alive at the time when he was cast about casting Sean Connery. But after seeing him in the role of in Doctor No, you got the right man there. You've got the right man. But it's so many. I mean, decades and decades of movies he did. So iconic roles. I mean, winning the Oscar for The Untouchables. Just as a supporting actor. But
Indiana Jones' dad.
Indiana Jones's dad. But also his on-screen chemistry with his best mates, his best friends, as you've mentioned, Roger. He was also best friends with Michael Caine, and every time they were on screen or wherever together, you could see the chemistry. Good chemistry always makes a good movie, and he is a legend, and he'll live on forever.
Definitely, yeah. So yeah, it's a very sad day to lose Sir Sean Connery. Mustn't disrespect his title. Age 90. So on that note, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.